Welcome in the name of the Chamber. Let me welcome you here for this event. The Brazilian tax system is punitive not only because it creates judicial uncertainty. Taxes on production are initially levied on output, not value added. This means that if you're a nascent firm, you're obliged to pay taxes even before you collect profits. You may qualify for credits on what you paid for your inputs, but the procedure is neither automatic nor simultaneous. It's rather a nightmare. The result is the contenzioso tributário. Since you effectively pay taxes on the value of sales, you end up paying taxes on taxes already paid on the inputs you bought. So the effective tax rate is much higher than the statutory rate. Moreover, taxes are levied on the point of production, not consumption, a distortion that further discourages investment in new products or regions, incentivizes tax competition between regions, and creates many opportunities to cheat the system.
Good morning, everyone. But why does Brazil need a reform on those taxes, right? So when we talk about the ICMS is one of the higher taxes in this basket today. It starts in 18%. Most of the things are taxed at 18%. You have rates up to 32%. The way you calculate is a gross up, so it's much more than 18%. Although we have a federal law that regulates ICMS, basically you have to look at, let's say if you're a company that operates in several states, you have to look at 27 sets of regulations. They conflict among themselves, and so sometimes you send some things from São Paulo to Bahia. São Paulo requires you to charge ICMS of 10, Bahia accepts only the credit of 8, and so you end up with paying 2 more that you should not. It should work as a VAT in a way that you should have credits for all the inputs you buy, but in the end of the day, the states don't accept credits for everything, so you end up paying more taxes as well. Those credits that the state doesn't accept become cost, and you send to the end consumer. And all of that creates a lot of litigation that we face today, and Paulo mentioned very precisely that the amount of litigation is enormous. This third point here is a very sensitive point. ICMS should not be charged on export. So let's imagine in a factory, I buy a lot of inputs in Brazil. I buy those inputs with ICMS, so I get a lot of credits, and I export. There is no ICMS on the exports. The states, they should give me back that money, that ICMS that I paid on the inputs that I bought. But the states don't have money, and they never return that cash to the companies. So if you look at the balance sheets of several multinationals doing business in Brazil, they all have a lot of credits related to that, and the auditors come in the end of the year and say, look, it looks like you're not going to use those credits, you have to write them off. And that's all cost for the exports. ISS, it's very similar problems. Although you have a federal law, you have 5,600 municipalities in Brazil. And if you do business in several municipalities, you have to understand the rules of all those places. Just so you have an idea, recently Congress passed a law saying that some services like credit cards and health insurance would be taxed where the consumer is. So in all those 5,600 municipalities, and they were not able to make it happen because it was so complex to put all those cities together that they quit the idea. different rates for different types of services. So If you render a service that's very similar to the other one in the list, sometimes the tax authorities will charge you more than a rate higher than you paid, and that generates litigation. Cases where two municipalities charge the same taxes, the same tax. The idea is that the principle is that you pay the ISS in the city where you are located, service provider. But sometimes there are some exceptions where the city where the consumer, whoever hired the service, is located, the client is located, can charge as well. We charge you twice, and you have to mitigate the same problem that I said before, the confusion between ICMS and ISS. And tax war, the same happens with the tax war among municipalities. Cities eroding the tax base is charging less tax to attract business, and that also tends to end with the tax reform, because in the tax reform, companies are not allowed or states are not allowed to give tax benefits, and Melina will explain that better. And PIS and COFINS and IPI, about the same. They should, especially PIS and COFINS, both of those three taxes, they should be VATs. You should get credit for everything, but the credits are very limited, generate a lot of litigation. Most of the litigation that we have in the federal level today is related to credits, PIS and COFINS credits, and that also ends with the tax reform, because according to the tax reform, the companies are entitled to all the credits, to credit every payment they make to entities. So if a company hires a law firm, they're entitled to the credit. If a company buys inputs, they're entitled to the credit. If they pay energy, they're entitled to the credit. And for all those items, you have challenges today and discussions. And PIS and COFINS, it's very important to the federal government. The federal government collects more with PIS and COFINS today than it collects with income tax. So it's very important for the federal government.
So thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you, Chamber and Lefosse, and especially Vinicius, who invited me to come here. It's a really pleasure to be here and talk a little bit more about tax reform in Brazil. So like Vinicius explained, the proposal that was approved in the Chamber of Deputies in Brazil was a proposal that is proposing a dual VAT, inspired in the Canadian dual VAT. As you know, now we have 193 countries in the world as per the United Nations, and 74 countries have VAT system. So just the United States for now don't have, and just because some federal issues we have here in the United States, but overall most of the most important countries in the world have VAT. Also, we have VAT is a destination-based tax, which means that suppliers will apply the rate where the consumer, the purchaser, is based. So if, like Vinicius said, if someone in São Paulo is buying a product from Bahia, the supplier will have to apply the rate of São Paulo, state of São Paulo, and the rate of the municipality of São Paulo. So it's destination-based. Because of this destination-based, it will change a lot in terms of distribution, the revenue distribution among the states, among the municipalities, because right now, as Vinicius explained, is origin-based. So, and also because this destination-based will end with all this tax war, because right now they can give tax incentives for business to come to their state or municipality. With destination-based tax, this will end because if they apply lower rates, they will apply for their consumers, not for the business, right? So it's changed a lot, and we went automatically this tax war in Brazil. So also a cashback system for low-income families. So basically, low-income families will have this cashback, and it's not the name in Brazil is cashback. They put an English name. Unfortunately, in Brazil, so it's very popular right now, cashback. So basically, and we're not. The proposal will give back some credit in respect of the IBS, CBS paid for certain low-income families. And also we have some very interesting proposal. It's called split payment system. It's a system already applied in some countries in Europe, where the tax, instead of the person paying the tax to the supplier, they will pay directly to the government. So this is interesting because, you know, it reduces a lot tax evasion, right? And tax fraud and all these carousel frauds that we see in Europe. It's much lower with split payment system. The proposal is creating a federative council to administer this IBS, because the CBS will be administered by Receita Federal, right? But who will administer the IBS, right? Because we have 7 states, 5,700 municipalities, so we can't allow them, each state, to administer independently the tax. So that's why it was created this federative council. Is responsible for administration and regulation of IBS. It's a centralized system formed by 27 states and 27 municipalities, and this council will do the collection of IBS and will the distribution of revenues to the states and to the municipalities based on the destination of the products and services. Also, we'll be responsible for interpretation and harmonization. We have only one interpretation on only one regulation, and it will be will be done by the council, this council. Basically, the IBS collected on B2B transactions will not be shared with states and municipalities. Only when there is a transaction, B2C transaction, then the Federative Council will transfer these revenues to states and municipalities, which means that basically, like Vinicius said, today when you pay ICMS, you pay to one specific state. If you have some ICMS to recover back, the state will never pay you because, you know, we have financial problems. So it's a big problem in Brazil. The states do not give back the ICMS. With IBS, because the revenues will not be shared with the states and municipalities, they will have this guarantee, they will have these credits back, you know, because it's like controlled by this entity, this independent entity that's not part of any kind of government. So this is the main advantage for the taxpayers, the suppliers, and the businesses in Brazil, this council, because right now you have these credits refunded, right? And also it's an advantage also because the suppliers will only register, collect IBS for this entity and not for 27 states or 5,000 municipalities, which is great, right? We're going to register for the council, we're going to collect, and that's it.
The idea in my presentation here is to give to you some explanation about the exceptions. Unfortunately, we have exceptions. We say that unfortunately because there are better ways to reduce the impact of taxation on food, for example. Okay, so the cashback, for example, is a much better way to fix this than using reduced rates. Okay, and I will try to explain a little bit about these exceptions. And also the exceptions we have because certain sectors of the economy, I would say, doesn't work very well with VAT. Okay, the VAT sometimes doesn't, other way around. VAT doesn't work well in certain sectors. And we are talking about the financial sector, which is one of the, I would say, biggest problems of VAT. For food also, we have another is here. For food, you have the national food basket that they can charge 0. So that's why I say we have 25%, 20%, and you have 0. Okay, 0 will be applied to food. So we say it's 60% reduction or 0. Is 10 or 0? They will elect this in the law that will be enacted like next year. We expect to have this next year. So the law will say, oh, this food goes to the national basket, or this food will be in 60% reduction. So that's the choice that will be made by the complementary law. So that's the way that it's going to work. We try to create a kind of rule. What kind of product will be in the national food basket, or will be in the 10% rate. So that's the idea, is to create a rule. Because basically, even if you go back with when we go back about pharmaceutical products, in Brazil, most of the pharmaceutical products that are consumed by the poor people comes from the government. So basically, who's going to receive this kind of benefit is I would say the rich people, because they have to pay. But the poor people, first, they don't have money, and second, they get this medicine from the government most of the case. And so it doesn't make.
I think I agree with them in the sense that this policy of reducing the rate for food is a bad policy because it reduces the rate for food of rich people and poor people. So if I go buy a very expensive pasta in the supermarket, it will be exempt. So it doesn't make sense. It would be better just to charge the full amount and return the money to the poor people.
I was going to ask that because there are many food products.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything be charged at the full rate, and at a certain point you go to the 60%, but I guess not.
Yes,
Yeah.
most of the picanha, how to say picanha in English, is a
Sirloin.
Sirloin.
Steak.
Yeah.
The good steak here that's consumed by the 10% of the rich in the country. Most of 90% of the consumption of picanha is the rich. So you are going to give the exemption for these guys? Doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's why we don't agree with this policy. Or what we should suggest yesterday is to make a mix. Okay, reduce the cesta básica, the national cesta básica in terms of number of products. Okay, and give the cash back. Okay, so you are going to reach with the same money, you are going to reach a better distribution of income. So that's the concept of this. And you have the specific regimes. Sometimes is in order to there are some reasons to reduce the rate, and there are some reasons for taxing different. For example, oil and gas, especially oil and gas, gasoline. The idea is to charge only on the factory, basically in Petrobras. Petrobras is the big oil company in Brazil. So the idea is to charge all the taxing just once, okay, in the factory, in Petrobras. So that's how it works right now. Okay, so they charge ICMS, fees that is paid that is charged on the oil and gas, and basically they charge on Petrobras in the Petrobras phase, I would say, in the Petrobras state. So you can guarantee. In fact, Petrobras is a kind of IRS in which they collect a lot of money. So it's the company is owned by the government, and so you can trust on them. You can trust them in the company. So that's what they are doing right now. Okay, the idea is to to collect in one phase. We call monophase, the monophase. You charge only there. But of course, the companies that they will use oil and gas as an input, okay, they will have credit. Financial services. Financial services is a thing that is a kind of problem because most of the countries in the world that they adopt VAT, they give exemption to the financial services. It's very complex to explain this, but basically what we can say that the spread is in the financial market is a kind, is the revenue, is like the sales, that should be the base for the debt in the VAT. But you have the credits. The credits will be how much you spend with the inputs, but beside, of course, labor. But the way to make this calculation and to, because the money is fluid, and we say, let's suppose, if I am loaning the money, how much is the cost, is the spread in this money that I am loaning? So it's very complex to make this calculation. And Brazil is already using another system, and the idea is to keep using this system very similar to that. Basically, they make an assumption about the spread, okay? Some assumptions to calculate the spread, and so they will give credit. And so Brazil is already taxing the spread in Brazil. Brazil is already through the PIS/COFINS, okay? And the idea is to keep doing this, but you need to make different calculations to reach the final amount. That's why financial services has to be in this exception. And of course, we have another healthcare plans. Healthcare plans, in fact, it needs also not to probably the rate will be the same of the health services, but the plan, the healthcare insurance or healthcare plans, they have to do this. Okay, and also we have an interest situation where the transaction with governments. When you are providing services or merchandise to the government, what you have to do, there will be two options. The government will choose this. Basically, or you'll be taxed by zero, okay? So, or all the money collected will go to the entity, the government entity that is buying the product. So if like a city is buying pharmaceutical products, they have two options: or but zero in the product, or they can tax. Okay, and the total revenue goes to the municipality. So basically, are the same system. What's the Brazilian tax burden? Brazilian tax burden, you go to this evolution, but basically after 2002, we have a peak, and basically we keep the same level, 33%. Okay, that's the tax burden. The US has a kind of 28%. The European countries, they have a little bit more. Okay, and that's the example of the carga tributária in other countries. Okay, and you can see that basically European countries, they are on the top. The average is in this color, this blue color, and Brazil is below the average of the OECD. Okay, but it's higher than US. That's the comparison that we have to do sometime. Basically because US doesn't have VAT. And how this tax burden is distributed in Brazil. Okay, basically what we collect most. When you see the income tax and corporate tax, okay, you see that Brazil is very below to the average, okay? Because we don't collect, especially income tax. The Brazil collection of income tax is so low if you compare to the other countries. What happens on the other way around, of course, to compensate this, the taxation of goods and services are far above the average and very close to the other highest. Okay, and so that's why we have to pay more. That's why when they say, "Oh, what will be the rate of VAT, the IBS and CBS?" Probably will be one of the, I'll say, highest, because we have one of the highest portion of collection, okay, in Brazil. Brazil chose this model in the past, but you have to change this. Well, not now, but you have to change this. You have to, first you have to be rich. You have to have more income to tax more income through the income tax. That's the idea. And this is an example, but Brazil in perspective, exactly, you see that 44% of the total collection comes from goods and services, okay? And if you compare England, for example, England, they collect a kind of 33% on goods and services, or the revenue collection, okay? And they have a 20% rate of VAT. So if you do this math, it's just a curiosity, if you do this math in proportion, you are going to have in Brazil, if you multiply by 44, okay, and make the comparison, rule of three, let's say, you can reach 25 point something % as a VAT in Brazil. So basically we are not charging more, okay, we are charging more because we are already charging more, okay, that's the, okay. And just to see what happens in terms of distribution of income, and if we use this rate of 26.9% for all the products and services, but you know that today the proposal is to give more reduction, okay, rate, but in this case we are going to have like a better distribution of income. These numbers is how much every decile of income, the 10% reaches 10% and so on, and how much they pay of the total collected. So let's suppose today the highest people, the richest people, they pay 32.9% of the total. Okay, and with the tax reform, even if you apply the same rate for all the products, including food, they will pay more, and the poorest decile will pay less. And there is a wrong understanding about how much the poor people consume today, even in Brazil. For example, only 22% of the poorest decile, 22% of the income goes to food. The other 78% goes to other things, like telecommunications, cell phones, which will have a reduction of price, certainly. Okay? So some, not only the cell phone, but services, of course, and we are talking about. So that's why we say that even if we apply the same rate for all the products and services, even the poorest people will have a benefit.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I hope this was helpful.